All right, so when last we left off Kaiju number 8, we had been last time I said that episode didn't feel like a full episode. It felt like it stopped in the middle of the journey, because they were in the middle of a test, and then the test just kind of stopped in the middle.
It sure did.
And you know, I gotta be honest.
I will say this: if I'm taking a test and a bunch of monsters start attacking me, I'm okay with them taking a break.
Yeah. You know what? You make that. That's a good point. You do bring up a good point there. Like, I don't think I could handle the stress of monsters trying to kill me while I'm trying to ace this exam so I can hang out with my hot childhood friend.
I mean, if you give me a water break in between, I'm cool to go back to it, but don't expect me to just like straight into it without anything, without at least acknowledging it.
Yeah, that was a hell of a sentence.
Oh my god, it sure fucking was, man. Oh my god, worked hard.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This episode really, this episode, in addition to showing, you know, Kafka is capable of doing things as a kaiju, it showed he has a very strong resolve to succeed. Not necessarily in the capacity of like, oh, I now get to be part of the Defense Corps, but more on, let's make sure that this team, like, that we all finish this and nobody dies.
Yeah, very, I mean, outside of the nobody dies part, very Naruto, stage 1 of the, was it the tuning exams?
I'm gonna be real with you, I never really watched much Naruto.
The whole thing at the end of like the first part of the exam was,
oh, yes.
All right, you can back out now and take it again next year. But if you go and you fail, everyone, like, you're never allowed to take it again.
Right.
And like everyone was about to give up. Naruto's like, I don't care, I'm gonna do it. Da, 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 da. So then everyone sticks around.
Yeah.
And then it turns out the entire point was actually, no, it's, do you have the balls to do it when that's on the line, you know?
I thought you were talking about when they all go in the forest and there's that the hot one that's got like the mesh suit underneath her clothes.
Yeah, I remember that one. The one who's always got a toothpick for some reason. No, that's part 3 of the exam, I believe.
That's right.
Oh, no, that's part 2. That's part 2.
Part 2 is that, and then part 3 was when they all fought each other, right?
Part 3 was, let's watch Children Gladiator.
I was very much into that part. So anyway, back to Kafka being a hero. He is, you know, as we established in the previous episode, he knows he's not going to be able to keep up with everyone else. So instead of getting his ass kicked by Kaiju, he's just like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to provide like emotional support to people, because that's what they need, really.
He's the guy in the chair.
Yeah, he's the guy in the chair. He's the oracle for the series. He's like providing guidance on how to defeat these specific which ones? These are Honju, right? The smaller ones?
Yeah. So these are Honju. Yeah. Yeah, the big ones are Daikaiju. I probably just slurred something there. These are Honju, and the teeny tinies are Yonju.
That's right. So because of Kafka's profession, again, he knows how to kind of take these things on. So he's kind of just like, hey guys, try doing this while running around on Reno's shoulders, because, you know, his leg's all fucked.
Yeah, it done broke.
And it was at the point where the proctors were even like, hey, we're gonna pull you out now. And he's like, no man, I can keep going. Let me keep going. And they're like, and our sweet baby bowl cut baby boy is like, you know what?
Soshiro.
Yeah, Soshiro.
My favorite guy on the show.
He's just like, all right, look, we're gonna let him stick around because, god damn it, he's funny. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
And
he's the actual best.
He's like, honestly, Kafka is the what's it called, personality hire for this group.
Yes, 100%.
Like
he's literally the one that's just there because, hey, you know what, you like to hang out with him. Yeah,
and you know, Kikoru, Pigtails, Kikoru. Kikoru is honestly she's just out there fucking shit up. Like, she lives up to the bragging she does. She's out there killing.
But at the same time, she's also making what I would think is a mistake, because she's doing the thing, and I feel like this is brought up in so many different anime, where it's like, yeah, but you're supposed to be part of the team, and
right?
Not being a team player.
She's definitely out there showboating, trying to prove, oh, I am the best, and I don't need you guys. But at the same time,
yelling out to people, nope, I got there first, and it's like, okay, bitch.
In all fairness, though, I will say she does. Her whole credo is nobody dies while I'm on the battlefield. And yes, it's a very it's a very selfish like ideology. Like, I'm the one that's going to make a difference on it. But I respect where she's coming from.
So that's the thing. It would be 100% different if she's like running around making sure people are safe, but she's running around showboating. That's the difference between the two. To the point where pretty soon we see her, she just sees like she's killed the last kaiju, and they're like, oh great. So she's literally just looking at the sky, and she says something along the lines of like, I did it, didn't I, Daddy?
Yeah.
She says, I did it, I was perfect, wasn't I, Daddy?
Yeah.
And it's like, girl, like, you don't even need a psychologist. Like, you walk in the door and they can see the daddy issues.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where she has big shoes to fill, because on one hand, yes, it's her father that she's trying to live up to his expectations, but her father is also the leader of the Defense Corps.
True, but he's also a bad dad.
He is a terrible father, overwhelming her with the expectation that she has to be beyond the best. She needs to be absolutely perfect. And I get what he's trying to teach her is because Defense Corps, if you don't do the job correctly, people die. But at the same time, she's like 15.
Literally. Like, that's not an exaggeration.
She's like a toddler.
I think at one point they pointed that out.
Yeah. And we actually get a moment where she gets humbled, because she, as you said, she's standing there looking at the sky. And as she's as she's fucking off with the sky and all that, all the dead kaiju fixating on the sky. Yes.
No, 16.
16. Sorry, she's 16. You're right.
I pulled up all the ages.
Gotcha. While she's fixated on the sky, though, all the dead kaijus she killed came back to life.
Oh, but before that, a guy literally flicks his hand, and it's like she gets a shot straight through her suit.
Right. And
she even says, like, "Oh man, if I didn't react so quickly, it would have hit my heart."
Right. Yeah. Which, I mean, damn, if that's a true fact, and she's not just exaggerating on her own skills. But
it also goes to show just how impressive these suits really are.
For sure.
I mean, I think before the test, when like they're all trying them on, you're like, okay, they get cool uniforms, and then like during the test, it's like, okay, they're faster, they're a little stronger, cool.
Right?
Like, it's like no. These suits like literally completely changed their physiology.
Yeah, and she's at this point. So at this point, the test is over. The proctors are like, yeah, everyone passed. Well done, props. And we're taking away the drones.
They're like, wow, no one died. That's amazing.
No one died. No one quit.
With them.
Yeah. And they're like, all right, let's recall all the drones. And while all the drones are gone, and the zombie kaiju start coming back to life, we are introduced to the 9th kaiju. Kaiju number 9, who looks like a mushroom.
He legitimately does.
He looks like a mushroom.
He is.
And
it's like at least Kaiju, when Kafka's Kaiju number 8, it looks like humanoid based. This guy looks like he's based off of like aliens.
He's a mushroom.
Like the tall, skinny armed gray aliens.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the first time, for the first time, they're faced with a kaiju with intelligence. Now, keeping in mind, Kafka is a human that turns into a kaiju. He's got his human intelligence. This is a kaiju.
They don't know that is the thing. They
Right.
don't realize that Kaiju number 8 can talk. They don't realize it's intelligent. They think it's just this beast that's running around.
Right.
This one, he's talking to the Kaiju. He's like, "Oh, buddy, you want to get back up?" And like,
Oh, that's a good boy. I will give you some scratches behind your ear horns.
And
there's no doubt.
the Defense Corps only knows that something's amiss because they hear Kikoru? Kikoru. The only reason they know that anything's going wrong is they hear Kikoru screaming.
Yeah, and then they see her
her vitals.
Her vitals.
They're tracking their vitals, so they start seeing like shit's fucky. And in that moment, they're like, okay.
No, I think something's not right. I think she stepped on a nail, maybe.
I think something went wrong. And then they notice that the kaijus that have died are starting to show vital signs again. And so that's when they're like
moving, they're making noises, they're starting to stand up, which is extra crazy because like some of them are like standing up while like their guts are sliding back into them.
Right. And Shimmy Shimmy or whatever his name is. What's his name? Shikamaru? Shimmy Shimmy Kimmy?
Are you talking
Bowl of bitch.
Reno?
Bowl haircut.
Shinonomiya.
Bowl haircut. Shimonomiya.
Bowl haircut is no. Shinonomiya is Hikaru's last name. You're thinking Soshiro. Or Hashira.
So
Soshiro.
Vice captain. Vice captain is like, all right, listen, guys. I know we think that they're okay, but we should probably go down and check on. Like, just go make sure there's nothing amiss, because sounds like something might be amiss. And
like they're getting ready to start deploying everyone's shields. They're like, this isn't nothing playing around.
We're done. We're done with the test here. Yeah.
And High School Crush are rushing back.
They're running in, and we get to see them in action, like proper for the first time. Which,
I mean, do we? The only thing we even see is just again them running.
That's true. You're right. I lied.
We don't see them do anything. Because that's the thing. The test grounds are far away from where they even are.
That's right.
Which, by the way, you would think would be a really bad design flaw when you have people who have not yet passed a test fighting live kaiju.
Right. Well, and while
you have the people who are already in the defense force, like standing on the wall or some shit, right?
Like they'd be in clear shot if they needed to be. And while they're making their way downtown, the kaiju that's been reawoken is growing and also mutating. And
like note that like it had like Hellboy horns at first, but now they're like actually growing into real horns.
No, it didn't even have the nubs. It was smooth skin.
I thought it had a nub.
No, it had smooth skin, and it forced, like, the horns forced their way out. It's gnarly. And then
but like they're able to tell that this thing is going to an order of magnitude stronger than it was.
Right. And as this thing gets ready to just fucking annihilate Kikoru, Kafka shows up and he's like, "Hey, how's it going? You remember me? Just stay put. I got this." And proceeds.
This thing is literally throwing energy balls, and Kafka's just standing there looking at her like, "Hey, you all right?
You good? You good? I got this.
Good job. Thanks for keeping it distracted.
Take a little snooze. I got this from here," and just deflects one of the energy blasts.
One of my favorite parts, though, is in between that, like he transforms into Kaiju number 8. Looks dope. He deflects the energy blast. Like it's effortless. He stands to fight again. It's a monster. But in between each of these, it's doing that thing where it gives him like the really soft animation, and he's running back. He's like, "Please don't tell anybody.
Please keep this quiet. This is just you and me."
It was so funny.
Yeah. They do. They do a really great job with the characterization of Kafka. And Reno,
100%.
Poor Reno, who is trying to keep Kafka from, revealing his secret, is like, "Oh, great. dumbass just ran off, and God, you know what? He probably turned into a kaiju too. And I'm gonna have to clean up the mess from this. And Kafka, once again, he does the thing where he just fucking destroys.
He one punches it, but like this one's even cooler than the last one because we see his body changing and reacting. Literally, like a part of his calf opens up so it like cements into the ground. Right. His arm at the elbow like unzips and like power starts flowing out like he's Kasuga and Sakuraido. It's really cool how his body's changing and adapting to the fight. Right. Seemingly on its own.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of you remember Darwin from the X-Men?
Yeah, you mean how he was supposed to be in the movie where he just died at the first sign of trouble?
Yeah, that one always pissed me off.
It should have.
It still does to this day. But yeah, it's incredible how, like, we've seen Kafka go monster form, we've seen him fight, but we haven't seen him do it quite so efficiently.
Overpowerishly, I would say.
I feel like a lot of it has to do with
him.
Yeah.
It's just like he's reacting on reflex, just like, oh fuck, punch, dead. Whereas this one, like, he actively like winds up and like prepares for this crazy punch, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like it's one of those things where Kafka does not know his own strength. Because like they pull up his level of strength, which is magnitude 9.8, which is unheard of, basically.
True. And which also points out something that I literally didn't realize until this watch through, and I've seen this probably 6 times.
Yeah.
Kaiju number 9 didn't even show a Fortitude on their readings.
Right.
So that means Kaiju number 9 is also able to hide his power levels.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which it's obvious, but I just never thought of it before.
Yeah. But Kafka, with this massive strength, he literally destroys everything. There are just kaiju popping up here and there, and he is like backhanding them.
Yeah, he literally, not like backhanding like a closed fist. He literally like slaps one like it's a fly, and he just like freaked out. Right. And again, it's shred to pieces.
Like just absolutely liquefied. And honestly, I love how casual he is, because in the middle of all this, he turns off his face, so he's human again in the face, and just like, hey, I'd appreciate if you didn't really talk about this with anybody, and stuff. And then Reno shows up and starts yelling at him, and he's like, dude, everything's fine. She's not going to say anything, as she passes out on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, literal, and blasted with kaiju bolts. She's got holes in her body, and then, like, one thing I also just kind of always forget, snapped her arm in like, I think it was a compound fracture.
It made a Z.
Her arm was a Z. Yeah.
Yeah. And this, like, the Corps shows up, and they're like, okay, let's clean up. And they're like, oh, by the way, everyone's safe, and all the kaiju are dead. So we're good. And Mina and Soshiro show up, and they're like, yeah, I've never seen anything do this.
Well, so Soshiro's sitting there, and he's like, huh, something about this looks familiar. So, like, you can tell he knows something's up, but, like, he hasn't quite put 2 and 2 together yet. Because it is true that, I mean, the last one that Kafka took out, when he's protecting that little girl, literally all that's left of it is its legs.
Right. After the battle, Kafka and Miss Shinomiya are healing up because they need to, and Kafka's a little bit upset that he doesn't get the special treatment that she does, because, he forgets that she's, really rich.
Yeah, also, literally, this thing put at least 4 holes in her and Z'd her arm.
Yeah.
So Kafka and Reno are talking, and Mina just kind of stops by, and they're like, "Oh shit, what are you doing here?" And she's just like standing there,
Yeah. She's
really
kind of
awkwardly. But then she goes, "Oh, I just heard you guys were the ones that carried Kikoru out." And they're like, "Yep." And she's like, "Thank you," and just walks away.
yeah.
But then it cuts to Soshiro talking with Kikoru, and she's in like the beginning of Fifth Element, like tube, like fixing her entire body.
End of Alien.
Like, yeah, or Cocoon. Except she's not getting younger. But anyway, so Soshiro
Actually, she looks like she aged
like,
pretty significantly.
Which with Soshiro, he's like, "Hey, you doing okay there? Like we heard that you were the one. I just want to thank you. We heard you were the one that took out that big,
That big
zombie
son of a
kaiju."
bitch.
And you see her thinking and literally being like, and I think there was a quick flashback of Kafka in his kaiju form.
Yeah.
And you see her just go, yeah, it was me. And I'm sure someone's going to be sitting there like, "Oh man, what a bitch. How dare she like take his credit for what he did. And it's like, no. That was just them showing her protecting his secret.
Right. And
yeah, it was...
yeah, I think it's...
had said, even hinted that Kafka had anything to do with it, a lot of questions he would not have been cool with.
For sure. And I think this look, I'll be real. I started off the series not liking Shinomiya, but she's starting to grow on me. Yeah, she's starting to grow on me because she realizes like sure she can be the best and also not an absolute bitch.
Exactly. Hey, maybe I shouldn't just throw the cars of people I just met.
Yeah.
She's starting to get it.
Yeah, maybe I'll just gently nudge it to the side. Okay, so...
But the next part's probably the most important part of the episode.
Right. It's the end of the episode. And I love... Okay, one of my favorite things is creatures that are not human trying to pretend to be human.
That's always fun.
Because they're just so alien about the way they do things. Like, for example, Homeboy is sitting on a turlet in a bathroom, just listening to the news, right? Headphones on.
Also sitting on one, like, with, like, his ass on the tank and his feet on the seat.
Yeah, he clearly...
like that style?
He clearly... I mean, I get why he's sitting that way, specifically. It's like, he doesn't want people to see him he wants to hide. He doesn't want people to know what he is.
Fun fact, not actually something you gotta worry about in Japanese turlet stalls. The doors go all the way to the floor.
Oh, they do. You're right. But yeah, he's just listening to the news, and he gets all pissy about the fact that they didn't mention him in the news.
Right?
Here, it was very...
I would have thought you'd want to, like, keep things secret, man.
It was very reminiscent of Shigaraki from My Hero Academia. Like, Shigaraki, if you remember, wanted very much for his League of Villains to be known. He wanted to draw attention, and that's what this kaiju was going for. He's trying to draw attention to himself for one reason or another. I don't know what it is yet, but... So he's listening...
I don't think we're supposed to yet.
Right, we're not supposed to know yet. So he's just sitting in the bathroom stall, bitching about the fact they didn't mention him in the news. And the way he's holding... When you hold a phone, you typically palm the phone, right, and just, like, rest it in your palm. He's holding it by,
he's
like...
holding it... Yeah, like, with the thumb and the forefinger, you know? He's doing the, oh, God, it might bite me, or, like,
he's
it
like
smells.
Pinching it, yeah.
Yeah.
And... Like, I'm looking at this guy's knees and elbows. This guy spends a lot of time on his knees and elbows because them's is rashed up.
You know what? I mean, he really needs to learn to start using some lotion.
Less teeth next time, man. Less
Yeah.
teeth next time.
But this is why it's probably the most important part. Then we see, the cleanup crew that Kafka and Reno were a part of.
Right.
You see them like, hey, you coming or da da da?
You done shitting in there?
Calls him. And that's when his head shifts into human form. And this is where I would say most people can figure it out. This is where we realize that Kafka's a human who could become a kaiju. This is clearly a kaiju that can become human.
Right. And I love, so as he's turning his head into a human head, he's answering a phone call, and he goes, "All right, what would a human say if they answered a phone?"
Oh man, that was good.
And I gotta be honest, it was. Yeah, go ahead.
I also like to think that you remember how when when Kafka became a kaiju, a little Yonju like flew into his mouth.
Yeah.
I like to imagine like a little teeny tiny Yonju-sized human flew into Kaiju number 9's mouth.
Just like a fetus.
And that's, yeah, there you go. It's like, all right, you can become human now.
All right, so that wraps up the episode basically, and
I'll say this for this episode for what's the title of it's Fortitude 9.8.
Fortitude 9.8.
This is the episode where if for some reason you weren't already in on Kaiju number 8, this is the episode that's going to get you.
Yeah, this one is what sells it, because like on one hand, yes, we have. Look, man, I've said this before when I talk about Godzilla with Brandon and Jose. I don't watch kaiju movies for the human element. I watch kaiju movies to watch kaijus beat the shit out of each other. Mm-hmm. This is one where I actually give a shit about the human element.
Yeah, because they make it actually interesting.
Yeah, they don't make it like, oh, we have to stop everything. Like, these people aren't trying to kill Godzilla to rid the world of the giants. They're like, okay, we have to adjust to life with these fuckers showing up, but we still got to keep going like we're like nothing's going on.
Absolutely.
And I think that version of this post-apocalypse of the monster world is so much better than the ones that it's like, man, I like the I know you don't like the legendary Godzilla films. That's fine. I'm not gonna try and sway you on that. I like
those new one, the current one.
Yeah, that's the Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah.
I like the parts where it's just focusing on the kaiju. Like when it's Godzilla and King Kong wailing on each other, it's fucking great. I love it. But man, they spent a lot of time on Millie Bobby Brown trying to fucking save the world, and I'm like, I don't care. Now, Kafka... I
don't give a shit about 13 in this, or 11, or whatever the fuck her number is in this movie. She's not the one saving the world.
Right. No, Godzilla is.
No matter how much you want to make me think she is.
Yeah, she's not going to point her hand at Godzilla and scream and everything's going to go back to the way it should be.
Right?
But with this one, with Kaiju 8, I feel like they did a great job of making characters that were interesting enough to draw you in to stick around for when the actual monsters start showing up.
100%.
So
there's no question there. I think that's absolutely.
And I think this episode did a great job of not only humanizing, the kaiju in some ways, but it also humanized Kikoru.
I mean, technically, they literally humanized the kaiju.
Right. Exactly. Well, yeah, but it also humanized like Kikoru. It humanized Kikoru in a way that, she needed to be humanized with. Because before...
And, this could come off as awkward or maybe even misogynistic, but the fact is she was too overpowered. And we needed to see her able to be, not like brought down to peg, but we need to see that she could get hurt.
Right.
So this was really their way of trying to show, like, yeah, she's crazy strong.
But there's crazier, stronger things out there.
Exactly, yes.
And I absolutely agree. Like, they set the bar really high for this character because they needed to use her as an example of how strong these other characters are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was very well done. I don't think what you said is misogynistic. I think it wouldn't have mattered.
I don't think so either. I just worry that some people might take it that way. And it's like,
sure. Well, those people live to be insulted in life, so let them suffer. I think that even if it had been, Reno that was that overpowered, or any of the other characters that would have been overpowered, it doesn't matter that it was specifically her. It's any of the power, like the high level fighters. Getting humbled in that moment is an indicator of what is to come.
Yes. And it was an important point of the show is not just to show how strong Kafka is, but that there's this new level of power
Right.
that's coming into the world that they're not ready for.
Right, exactly.
It being the defense force in general.
Precisely. And it honestly, this one sets up like so well that Kafka has very much screwed up by showing off what he can do. And it's one of those, it's only a matter of time before the secret comes to the wrong person. But
100%.
his absolute...
The wrong person might be Kikoru.
Right, exactly. But here's the thing is he is so willing to save lives that he doesn't care that the wrong person may have seen it. He is...
Absolutely. It's just, it goes back to so many anime, very much a trope of like, that's the person that's a hero.
Right.
You need self-sacrifice to be a hero in an anime almost.
Well, not only that, but he is a very good indicator of if you have the ability to, you should. Like if you have the capability of helping someone, help the person. With great power comes great responsibility.
I mean, the entire reason, One for All. The entire reason, One for All. No,
All for One.
All Might. The entire reason All Might chooses Deku is because he runs in without thinking when he sees someone's in trouble.
Right.
He is compelled to act regardless of whether or not he necessarily should.
Exactly. And that's honestly that's I think more than strength, more than dedication or whatever, or not dedication, but like more than strength or anything like that, is you have to be willing to sacrifice for the greater good. And Kafka does a great job of that. And I think that in that moment, Kikoru sees that and is like, oh my god. And that's why she faints, is because she's like, her whole brain just exploded because she's realizing that she might not be the one doing it the right way.
100%. It definitely showed her that you can be powerful without being arrogant.
Right, exactly. Oh, chills, man, chills.
It's a great show.
It is.